Hello, my guest today has a unique background in photography and cinematography, who accidentally got involved with short-term rental. Brad Klopman is the CEO of the co-host company based in Joshua Tree around California. Brad shares his unique and amazing story about the short-term rental industry. Okay, Brad, I just read a little bit about you yesterday, and I also went to your website, took the pain to do a bit more about you, and I think You're doing something phenomenal, which is where things are going. First of all, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Sure. I already know. But tell us who you are and how you got into the short-term rental market.
Sure. Well, my name is Brad Klopman, and I've been in the short-term vacation rental world for about 4 years, coming on 5. But I came into this sort of all by accident. I was a film school graduate, and then I worked in film in Hollywood for a while. I produced a movie called Best Worst Movie, which is about the really bad movie Troll 2. And then I did some corporate videos and a few more features. And during that time, I met my now wife in LA. And we were trying to figure out what to do for our wedding. We got engaged, and then we said, you know what, let's not have a wedding. We'll just elope somewhere. So my wife was looking for vacation rentals to go elope to, because it was just going to be us and videographers and stuff, and we weren't going to have anybody there we knew. So 5 or 6 people. Yeah. And so she found a place on VRBO outside of Palm Springs in Yucca Valley, right outside Joshua Tree. Really nice, modern, cool house. And we were like, oh, this would be a great place to go elope to. So we went out there, we booked it through VRBO. We stayed there for a week, and we got married, and then I filmed the surrounding areas, and then we had cinematographers film our ceremony, and then I edited all that together to make a wedding video, and that's how we told everybody we got married. I didn't even tell my family that I got married.
Wow.
So I edited this video, we told all of our friends and our families, and then the owner of that house saw the video and loved it, because I used some shots of the house. Yeah. And so I said, oh, I'm in film. I can make you a house tour video because your house is so amazing. And so he was like, sure. So I made him a house tour video, just showing the house off in its area. Yeah. And then we were going to put it up online, and I was like, your website's not very good. I can help you build a website. And then I got him a website, and then I was like, you really should really be on Airbnb, because that's really where everything's going. And you should be on Instagram. Like, you have an amazing house here. He wasn't really trying that hard to vacation rent it. He was just trying to build homes. And so he didn't quite see the potential. And so being a producer of films and producers of things, I kind of felt like I could see something that's good and help it make it grow even better. Yeah. Kind of what I did already in the film world. And so I just slowly started helping this owner out. And once we got an Airbnb, it just took off. I was like quadrupling his nightly rate, quadrupling his occupancy. Everybody else around the area started noticing how well he was doing, going, oh my God, how are you doing so well? I was like, oh, well, this guy Brad's helping me out. And so from LA, I picked up a couple more houses, and I picked up a wedding venue that needed marketing and services like that. And so it got to be so much that I started like distancing myself from the film world as I was dipping my toe more and more into the Airbnb world.
Real estate, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so it just became, we were in the heart of LA, and we couldn't afford to buy a house there. And we were like, this Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree area, we can afford to buy a house there. So my wife and I, about a year or so ago, took the leap and moved out here. And that's when, at that time, I was managing up to, we got to 27 houses for this owner of the first house that we got married at. Had a company that was doing vacation rental services. And then it just got to the point where I was like, God, I really want to get back to what I started to do with just his house and the vacation rental market, and really come together and co-host with these new owners. So I branched off on my own back in May to start the co-host company. And so I've never owned a vacation rental. I've never owned property besides my primary residence now. So I've kind of came into this world kind of backwards through staying at one, and then seeing the potential of it, and then also seeing the potential of the area. It's so great. So that's where I am now today, is at the co-host company. I'm really trying to find owners that, in the Joshua Tree market, it's very much about creating an individual sort of boutique hotel experience. It's not like these bigger markets like maybe DC, where it's a lot of the same stuff that do well. It's just a lot of the same stuff. Like it's all so unique and so different here. And each owner brings a very unique and just unique perspective to each house that I like to say, I'm really going to come together with you and kind of partner with you and co-host with you to create this experience. So that's where I find myself today at the co-host company.
Oh, wow. This is an incredible story, isn't it? This is love made in Joshua Tree.
Exactly.
You should do a film for that.
I should. I know. It's quite a story too in its own.
That is. So you talk about finding new prospective homeowners and all that. How do you do that? Because there's two concepts where one is master lease, where you take on a landlord's property or homeowner's property, pay them a rent and then market it, or the co-hosting. Because the co-hosting bit is what the trend is moving towards at the moment. How do you get the properties?
Yeah, I do know of people now in the Joshua Tree area doing that sort of master lease arbitrage model, which was sort of unheard of in our area just because housing was so cheap that people would just buy houses and then turn them into Airbnbs. But now, that market is working for the right type of house here. But the way I do it is, it's really been through just a lot of word of mouth with the success I've had with the properties I originally worked with. I do a lot of, Instagram marketing and just putting myself out there as somebody doing vacation rental managing in Joshua Tree. And I think that the type of homeowner that comes here to buy a house, it typically, they want to create that individual unique experience, but they most often don't live here. So they're from, LA, sometimes they're East Coasters, San Francisco, and they're just trying to really create a unique, special experience in a house and then find somebody to sort of co-host with them and do all the on-the-ground stuff and all the marketing and social and all that type of stuff as well. So I haven't really done too much outreach yet. I just am sort of fielding a lot of requests coming in, so I haven't really had the need to at the moment.
Oh, I see. That's very interesting. You talk about how you market. How do you market your properties in terms of obtaining occupancy rates, for example? The target is about 70-80% occupancy rate. Are you able to achieve that? And if you do, how do you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it all starts with me on optimizing the Airbnb listing and optimizing the Airbnb sort of presence online. And so, there's all those articles about how to sort of maximize that SEO for Airbnb. And so I really take all that to heart and study that and really make sure that every listing I have is working within that algorithm and working within that SEO framework to keep you at the top of the listings, especially in a place like Joshua Tree. There's just so many listings, especially if you type in 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I mean, there's over 300 listings. So you got to really keep yourself up in the search results. And so, I do it in various ways. From, dynamic pricing management, I feel like is the most important one. I don't use any of the automated systems, Wheelhouse or Beyond Pricing. I mean, I think they might work amazing for certain markets, but it just, in this area, it's so unique and there's so many different pockets of areas, and whether or not you have a cowboy tub or an outdoor shower and you're surrounded by boulders, like it can't quite tell that versus one out in North Joshua Tree, like in a more flat area. So I really have been studying the market for a couple of years. I know what areas rent for certain prices and then what amenities add to that, and then how to price that in a way that sees that maximum occupancy. And so it's really, when I work with new owners, I tell them it's usually about a 6 months to 18 month trajectory from your pricing. Like, a lot of people think, oh, my place is a $300 a night place and I'm never going below that. And that might work and they might get a certain type of renter at the beginning, but it's not really utilizing the SEO and that growth you can get by starting really competitive and reaching more higher occupancy at lower rates, and then continuing to grow that rate and occupancy as you move forward in the end of year 2, for example. So I think, and then outside of the Airbnb SEO, it's a lot of just keeping yourself current and out there on Instagram, just to make sure that as people stay and they search what other people are doing, they find your houses, or you'll get photographers and people ask you to come stay and take photos. And I usually always take advantage of that in some way. Just, you're getting content for your own pages, you're getting content for your Airbnb, and then you're able to, whoever they following them, they get to see it. Just kind of raises your name overall. And so to me, it's sort of all of that put together really helps drive up that occupancy. And to me also the rates. I mean, to me, I'm always looking at year over year, higher nightly rates. And then eventually you'll find a ceiling, but it might take 2 years to find out what that ceiling is.
I see. You mentioned about dynamic pricing. So you're not using beyond pricing at all?
I'm not. I've looked into them all and I think they're great, but to me, I like the ability to control certain rules around booking, but I don't like a computer picking what the price is. So I love all the things that say, oh, if you check in on a Thursday, it's a 3-night minimum versus Sunday, it's a 2-night minimum, those types of things. I like that control, but I don't, as far as like choosing the price, it's probably a weekly thing, especially now during high season for us, where I'm changing those prices all the time to get people in when it's lower, and then when it's more popular, raise the rates. And then, it's a little bit like, if, for instance, in October, a really high month, we're booking at a certain rate, and then all of a sudden they go up pretty quickly and there's one more weekend left. I'll actually raise that rate a little bit that weekend because the demand is really there and the supply is really low now. And so you're just selling 2 nights. It's not like I have hundreds of items for that for them to buy. It's just that one last weekend in October. So I see that as a very valuable sort of commodity as that last weekend. And then I'll raise the rate up. Now, I'm sure they do a version of that on those programs, but it feels more aggressive to me to do it myself to achieve that maximum amount of income and then occupancy.
Oh, wow. I'm still very keenly interested in the relationship you have with the homeowners. In terms of your management, do you charge a specific percentage fee and the owners take care of all the maintenance and the refurbishment and also the decoration, staging? What is the relationship and how do you make your money?
Yeah, so I always do a percentage, and I like that because I tell them, and it's true, it just incentivizes me to keep doing a better job. I'm really only there to make money when they make money. Yeah. Especially with new clients. So like if I'm onboarding one and it's still 6 weeks away from them opening, I'm not charging them for that time because I'm really investing my time into making sure that the listing is a success when it starts out and that they don't start paying me until they start making money.
Of course.
And so I like to see it done that way because I just feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm partnering with them and I'm invested in it and I really care about their success and I care about them continuing their success. So, but as far as the money management goes, I like all the funds to come to me and the company first so that I can pay cleaners and pay a plumber had to come out, stocking supplies and consumables. I take care of all that for them. And then at the end of every month, they get a little, P&L statement that says, here's what you made and here's what you spent and here's your cut of it. And also it just allows them to, if they don't want to do anything, they just purely see it as a cash flow investment. Yeah, they can do a lot of the setup work and design it and put their spin on it how they want it. And then like, all right, let's just, you run the operation now. And some are more involved. Some really want to be involved in the marketing and aspect and some want to do some communication. It just depends on their level of involvement they want to have with it. And I sort of try to tailor myself to where they want to be with that. Because I really feel like at the end of the day, it's their house, it's their money, it's their investment. If they want to come out, once a weekend, once a month, every weekend, I'm not going to tell them no. It's their house, even though I'm not making money when they come out. It's their house. It should be up to them. Yeah.
And do you have a lot of homeowners who also want to be users of the properties as well?
Oh yeah, some do for sure. Some see it as, it's funny, they all come into it going, I hope to come out here. But at the same time, if you get renters, just take the renters. And so usually they don't block off dates ahead of time. They'll just, wait to see, oh, okay, next weekend it's still, there's this Tuesday open. I might come out that day type of thing. And then some purely see it as strictly, hands off. Like this is just an investment for me. I have 10 of these around the country. This is just another one of those investments for me.
Oh, wow. Seems like you're running a very mean, lean machine over there.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. What about your team? Because if you've got so many properties in double digits, obviously you can't be Superman and doing everything yourself. Right. How do you pick your team? And what is the management system you use to make sure that, the cleaning is to your standards, the check-in is your standards, the soaps, everything, basically experience that you want to give to people in Joshua Tree matches from property to property within the co-host company?
Sure. Well, right now I only have about 5 properties online and then another probably 10 or so in discussions with. But at my peak, after the other company I was working with, I was doing 27 at once, and I was in control of all those 27. It was really my decision-making process, my management of all those. And I had a team, we had to make sure there was, one sort of dedicated on the ground property manager running around, sort of a dedicated repair and maintenance guy. And then I pretty much handled the rest. But now that I've sort of scaled back a little bit with the co-host company, I do a lot of that myself because I want to make sure that that level of quality stays up for everybody. Yeah. But in that process, I'm creating, standard processes as I start to hire that dedicated property manager, that dedicated repairman. I mean, I have a lot of relationships with all the vendors up here, the plumbers and air conditioning guys and all that stuff to really help as needed in those situations. But I've been working with some of the same cleaners for 4 or 5 years now. And it's really just a matter of coming together with the owner, how they want the house set up stylistically, and then operationally, creating their own little checklist binders and stuff. I mean, I've looked into, some of the cleaning services like Properly and stuff, and I really like them. It's just sometimes it's the learning curve for the cleaner to learn a system like that isn't quite needed yet for the scale of this operation for what we do. And so really we just kind of go back to sort of a paper binder that it says, here's how you should leave this room. Don't forget to do this with the lights type of thing. And then I'll go in and check after them. And they know I'm doing it. It's not like I'm surprising them, but I just go in afterwards and just check to make sure it's up to the right standard. And then, it's also really important to keep that communication with the renter and making sure they're telling you, hey, was it clean when you showed up? What did you feel about this? And really trying to get that criticism from them if they have any, to really understand where renters see it. Because maybe I don't see it, the cleaner might not see it, but a renter's experience is always sort of what's most important to me. So trying to hear from them what they think is very important.
Do you only list on Airbnb or do you list on other platforms as well?
I do list on other platforms. Primarily VRBO is the second one, or HomeAway, for that. There are smaller ones that I've worked with, like Boutique Homes, which don't broker any payments. It's really more just, about finding you, and then you do payment all off site. I dipped my toe into booking.com a little bit. It's just our market up here is so primarily Airbnb. And then there is that VRBO market that's more for, or at least I see, it's more for families and things like that, at least in our area. So depending on what the property warrants, I definitely put it on other platforms. But I always start off on Airbnb only for a couple months because I'm really trying to raise that SEO and raise that have a good stronghold footing there. Instead of, if I launched on 20 platforms, I think it'd be harder for Airbnb's SEO to keep it higher in the search results.
The work involved, that's right.
Yeah.
What about marketing? How do you drive the traffic? Because if you just listen on Airbnb, I understand there are certain tricks that you have to do to get the algorithm to pick up your property and all that. What do you do to get marketed? I know you talked about Instagram, which I think probably big on.
I think Instagram is big for our area because it's just so pretty. I mean, it's such a beautiful area, and a lot of these houses are, and I try to tell the owners, you really got to try to think about that type of person coming out here. What looks would they want to have? Do they want to get a photo in your hot tub or the chair you built or something like that really is a unique experience for them, so that they can tell all their friends, and their friends, when they start looking on Airbnb for a place to stay, oh, I want to stay on that one because it has that cool hot tub that's over here by the boulders compared to the one that has a hot tub right by the house or something. And so to me, when you have things like that at your house, really playing that up and really working at driving more traffic to those types of renters that want to be there. I mean, we have one property, Cactus Moon Retreat, that's it's a 6-bedroom property, has its own detached yoga studio, multi-purpose room, and a pool, and it's pretty close to town, so it's not too far out there, so it's perfect for retreats. My wife holds retreats there. She's done 2 already. We have 3 more on the books in the future. It's called Desert Reset, and he brings people from all over the country to fly in to stay at this vacation rental and then learn from her throughout the weekend at her Desert Reset. And so that type of renter is who we're after in the marketing. And so, I'm not going to get I'm going to get like yoga people to come out there and try to take photos, or groups of girls or things like that, bachelorette types of weekends. I mean, that's really who our renter is at that property. And then another property that's pretty new is Starship Landing, and it can sleep 8, but it's 2-bedroom more or less, and it gets a lot of couples and smaller friend groups right now. And it's got a lot of great amenities. It's got a great look to it, and trying to drive that Instagram traffic of sort of the couples and sort of the nice photography of getting people in there to show that off and to get more attention on it, and the name out there more is really important. So, I try to tailor it to what each house wants and what each house's renter is showing up to that house. And then of course, everything you just mentioned as far as the Airbnb SEO, I just find very important to learn what that is and try to maximize that every day on Airbnb that you're using it.
Oh, wow. What about expansion? Would you be looking to expand beyond Joshua Tree?
I have thought of, I have thought about it, and I certainly, if I had the and as I'm getting there, it's on my way, but at right now I'm not. I do feel like I'm creating enough standard process and enough, attention to detail for what the co-host company is, where there could be the co-host company Big Bear, or the co-host company, Flagstaff, or whatever. There's another sort of similar market that is Joshua Tree driven. I don't think it would work, I don't know, in a bigger like LA or DC, where it's a lot of the same type of stuff in certain areas. There's certainly a lot of unique stuff, but it's more vacation rental based. I've thought about it, and I certainly wouldn't mind if an investor wanted to try to, pour gasoline on that fire, help me. But right now I'm okay at the stage I am in Joshua Tree. Yeah,
I see. Because I was thinking that perhaps with the way you've worked and you've got experience, you've probably developed certain systems for yourself. And all you need to do is scale up the systems, maybe find partners in certain local areas, and just give your systems to them and partner with them, and how you expand.
I totally agree. I definitely could. And so but right now I'm just so focused and busy in Joshua Tree that I haven't had the chance to step outside of that. But that's certainly on the table and something I'm thinking of. And if anybody ever approached me with an offer to do something similar, I would certainly entertain it and talk about it for sure.
We're going to get you to come manage some properties here in London.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Great place. I've been there once. I like London. I want to go back.
You do. Excellent. Let's talk about reviews. Have you had negative reviews before? And if you have, how have you managed them?
Yeah, good question. Reviews. I think reviews are really important. I really am always trying to strive for the renter to have a good experience. To me, it all starts with their experience. If the renter is happy, then the homeowner will be happy in the end. If I focus too much on the homeowner and the renter slides, nobody's happy. So I try to make sure from the minute they book, or the minute they even inquire, to the minute they book, to the minute they show up, and then when they check out, that there's enough communication that I'm reaching out to them to make sure that they're having a great time and not just reacting to if there's a problem. So that when it comes time to write the review, if there were any hiccups along the way, we've already fleshed it out, we've already talked about it, we've already gotten to the point where we're on the other side of that. And so they don't vent in the review or let it out in the review. I certainly see, I've never really been a part of like bad reviews, because if I sense one coming, I'll try to call it out. Hey, I just want to know, I know we went through this issue. What can we do to make sure that we both are on the same page about reviews? And sometimes it ends up in a no review. They opt not to, and sometimes that's better. I don't know. I've had an argument with myself about whether or not that's better, because the little star you get on Airbnb goes up even if you get a bad review. And so, 3 months from now, that bad review will be buried, but your star number of reviews has gone up. And so it could be a little misleading, because no review, your star didn't go up, but you also don't have a bad one in the system. So to me, if I ever see a bad review, and like a really bad review for another listing, that's a huge red flag to me, because that just means that they didn't solve the problem, whatever they're upset about. They didn't solve the problem afterwards, dealing with after they checked out, whether that's refunds or free stays in the future, or moving them if it's bad enough at that weekend. Because they're coming out, especially in my area, they're all vacationing out here. So if something happens bad enough where they're having a bad time, I'm going to work any way I can to make sure that they still have a good vacation. Like I've had once before, we had a water problem at a property where there just was no water. And so not only did they get a full refund, but they got $100 credit to go somewhere else, and just trying to make sure that they still had a good weekend. That's ultimately what it was about. We lost money on it, but it wasn't, I'm not going to try to hurt their vacation to save some money. I'm really going to try to do what's best for them and their experience. And so to me, reviews are very important. I'm always making sure I'm writing them. If I don't get one from somebody, and that 15-day window is coming up, I'll write them and say, hey, your review time is coming up. Just want to make sure we get one from you so we can have that feedback and that, response from you. So I find it very important, the reviews and all that.
Because there's a school of thought about being Superhost and not being Superhost, and also whether being Superhost actually affects or enhances your business positively, and not being Superhost doesn't do the same. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, I actually booked an Airbnb for myself and my family this Christmas out in Santa Fe, where I used to live. And so when we were looking at places, I was on the other end of that. I mean, I'm always doing that for my own properties in Joshua Tree, acting like a renter and searching to see where they end up in search results and see how they look compared to other listings. But doing it in a different market where I didn't know any of the listings and wanting to stay there, I searched by Superhosts. I mean, it was where I started. And I started there. Now we found a place, but if we didn't find one, then I would have unclicked Superhost to see what else was out there. But I start with that because to me, I mean, Superhost isn't that hard to get. But if you don't get it, what's wrong? Like what happened? Usually it means a cancellation or bad enough reviews. Some things, or if they're brand new, obviously different scenario. But to me, there are properties I've worked with from when Superhost started that have always stayed Superhosts. And in fact, all the properties I've ever worked with never lost Superhosts. Once they got it, we maintained it until either I left that company or currently the one I'm with now. So. I find it important, especially as a traveler. It just sort of adds a layer of, even if that layer is thin, it just adds another layer to what type of experience I might get there. So I do find it at least helpful. Now it'd be better if they had a super duper host where there was another level that was like way harder to achieve. I mean, they're kind of doing that with Plus, I guess, but just the idea that the best of the best of the best. And so, I mean, I guess Plus covers that, but I do like that idea.
A++, not exactly. 8 stars, but A3 stars or A2 stars, and that sort of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, because a lot of people think that the Superhost thing is just phony. It's a bit fakey. Because I had an experience where a guest came in, gave me 5-star reviews. The next guest came in just a couple of days after, 3-star reviews. Then the weekend, another guest comes in, 3 different guests, they gave me 5-star reviews. So here I'm sandwiched. I've got a sandwich of reviews, 5, 3, 5. Nothing changed. The cleanliness, everything was the same. So is that not based on somebody's subjective opinion?
I agree. I've had that same thing happen where it's just, whether it's the renter doesn't realize that you don't have to be too critical in the star review, like the 5-star, you kind of just have to give 5-star all the time unless it was really bad. There are properties, I did some research the other day on some of my properties that have like 120 reviews. It's either a 5-star, 95% of the time, a handful of 4 stars, and that's it. There's never a 3, a 2, or a 1. And so I had a property recently, somebody gave it a 3-star, and it's like, where is this coming from? Why? Everything else is perfect. Why? Everybody else has had an amazing time. Yeah. So I don't know. Did
you find out why?
No, they were very uncommunicative afterwards. Like, obviously people bring their own, like you said, subjective experience to that. And so who knows what they were after? Who knows what they were thinking? What sort of chip on the shoulder they had outside of their experience that you've provided for them, or just a way for people to vent in the review. I mean, she didn't leave us a bad written part of the review, but when the stars come out, she nailed us on the stars. And I don't also think renters realize that we can go in and see this individual star rating for value and communication, and we can go into that as a host and see what they gave us. But I don't know if the renter realizes we can see it. So they're probably like, ooh, I'm going to do this, and they won't know that I felt this way. And every time they do, I call them out on it because I just want to, if they don't give me constructive feedback on it, I try to ask them why. Hey, I see you gave me 3 out of 5 stars for value. Can you elaborate? What was it that you felt didn't get us 5 stars, so that I can maybe help that for the next renter, or help you understand perhaps where you might have been confused on something. So I have the same experience, and it's frustrating because you think I did the same thing. I presented the same experience. Why would I get 3 here and 5 here? So I feel you.
It does feel very frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Brad, what advice would you give to people who are looking to buy property? For example, you said in Joshua Tree, for example, people come in there, they buy and they just rent it out and move on, especially landlords or property investors who are hands-off. What advice would you give to hosts who want to be hosting the area and people who already have long-term rentals but want to move into the short-term rental space, as well as property investors, newbies who just want to buy properties, give them to the co-host company and move on? Yeah. What advice do you have?
I get a lot of potential owners ask me a similar question here in Joshua Tree because they want to invest, but they don't know quite where to put their money and how to do it. And so my answer to them in this area is, I've already done all the research, whether that's just through my experience or actually doing the research to understand what type of property and what type of property where will do best. So in this case, it's looking at what is the most flooded tier here, I guess, in Joshua Tree. So there's a lot of 2-bedroom, 1-baths. So I wouldn't do a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I mean, there's just so many of them. And if you are going to do it, exactly. If you are going to do it, you just have to make sure that you're on your A game for everything else that's available right there. For all the amenities, the decor, the styling. I mean, everything has to be, and you can still do well in that space. So I don't tell them it's impossible or it's saturated. It's just you have to compete a lot harder in that space. So instead, I've done the research to understand what it lacks, and what it lacks is larger properties, 5-6-bedroom properties. And that's where I see the arbitrage model working, is they find landlords that have a hard time renting out or selling these big 6-bedroom mansions here. And then somebody came in and said, hey, well, we can short-term vacation rent it and decorate it and flip it in that way. And it's working. And so I feel like that's because nobody else was doing that is why it was working. And so I feel like taking that same idea and applying it to a new area, like if I was going to move into the Santa Fe market, for example, where I used to live, I would just do my research. I mean, I would just research how many 2-bedroom, 1-baths, I haven't done an Air DNA report in a while, but pulling that type of information and kind of understanding what's missing, what's lacking, and then also just really diving in to see who your competition is. Who are the people doing the best and why are they doing the best, and really understand what they're doing that's making them so successful. And then, just trying to recreate that for yourself. And so to me, it's just a lot about doing your homework. I mean, I see a lot of people come here and they buy a house, they try to rent it, and then they're like, hey, can you come help me manage it? And I can tell they haven't quite done their homework. I can tell that they just saw, oh, Joshua Tree is a great market. I'll just buy any house, any old spot, and it'll just rent. And that used to be the case a couple years ago, but with the competition here now, it's just not quite the same. And so it still works, and I still tell them it can work. But if I was going to redo it for them, it would be coming with all of that research to understand. And which might take a lot longer to find the right property to do that. But it just understanding all of that really helps, your long-term investment with who your competition is up here.
Oh, brilliant. Brad, it's fantastic speaking to you.
One
last question. Last question. If you're an animal, what animal would you be? And why?
Oh, this was your secret question on the, let's see. It's a good question. I mean, I'm more of a cat person than I am a dog person. We have 3 dogs and 2 cats. So
you're a cat and doggy, are you?
I'd probably be a cat over a dog, but I've also, I've also toyed with, I've had this question asked before in my life, and I've also thought of a dolphin because they are very smart. And I like to think I'm at least somewhat smart. And then that they, like to do, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I'm a big aggressive freestyle skier, and I, skydiving and all that stuff. And so I like that they have that playful attitude with themselves. The dolphins do flips, and they do kind of fun stuff in the water, and they, don't take themselves too seriously, it feels like, all the time. So I guess a dolphin or a cat, if I had to pick.
Oh, brilliant. You did talk about your wife doing retreats, retreats for clients. Can you just tell us a bit about it? And if it's possible, you want to give us the website, and the details so that we can, publicize it for her?
Sure, yeah. Well, it's called...
What does she do exactly?
She's a hypnotherapist.
Oh,
so she had a hypnotherapy practice in LA for over 15 years. And then when we made the move out here, she had to sort of close her office and give up that sort of one-on-one aspect of her operation. She does some phone sessions now, but she was able to, parlay that healing experience of hypnotherapist and turn it into a retreat for people coming from LA that want to get away and just kind of reset their mind frame in the desert. And then once we started putting it out there more and more, we noticed that people from all over the country were coming. She kind of thought, oh, people from LA and San Diego will drive up to do this. But really, people have been flying in from all over the country to experience the magic of the desert. And then we do yoga and we do hypnotherapy, of course. And there's a sound bath from the local sound bath guy, Ryan, Mojave Massage, which is great. He plays the bowls and does all this stuff for us in the yoga studio. And then we had a telescope guy come out once and show us the stars. And it's all plant-based and all vegan food. So we're trying to be very healthy throughout the whole weekend as well, and conscientious about all that. And so it's Desert Reset, desertreset.com. She has one.
Desertreset.com.
Yeah, desertreset.com. She has one in November that's sold out already. But you can still come as a commuter. So you can still find a local Airbnb nearby or a hotel, whatever you feel like, and then just come hang out all day at the retreat, and then you stay somewhere else. But then she has one in February, Valentine's weekend, and then one in May, the second or third weekend of May. And so it's been really great. Yeah, it's a really cool experience, and it allows me to take the property, Cactus Moon Retreat, and then optimize that and show that off to her and for the retreat participants, and then her to bring her talent as hypnotherapist together. So we really are like coming together to produce this retreat. So it's really a cool experience.
Wow. I see where your energy comes from.
I'll
be there in no time.
Yeah, you should book one. It'll be fun.
Excellent. Brad, thanks very much for this interview. I really appreciate it. And I'll send you a PM about the details of your wife's retreat, because I think a lot of people might want to have that experience, because this is global, and it's a global community that we're working with. Thank you so much.
And if you want to check me out, it's just thecohostcompany.com or on Instagram, The Co-Host Company, or my name, bradklopman.com will also take you. And then same thing with Desert Reset. It's Instagram at Desert Reset or desertreset.com.
Excellent. Thanks very much for this interview.
Of course, Douglas. It was fun.
Real. Take care.
Awesome. You too, man.
Bye-bye.